A very warm welcome to our second Visitor Economy webinar of the year, which we hold obviously in association with ourselves at Marketing Liverpool and the BID. A nice sunny day today to reflect on the events of Monday and things coming forward. So we're very grateful for you to join us, very grateful if you can contribute in your own way through the Q&A and through the chat, as Alvaro was outlining there, and join the debate and join the discussion. Clearly, we hold this webinar on the back of the announcement of the roadmap from government on Monday and in advance of next week's budget, two very critically important occasions for us to reflect upon. And this webinar will give us the chance to have a look at the implications, the opportunities, the challenges that the roadmap presents us, and the things that we need to do as a city to make sure that we come out of this, out the blocks fast and quick, and help rebuild our business community and the audiences that we had pre-COVID. And in order to kind of do that, we're going to do these two panels. So I will focus on the first panel, delighted that I have Bernard and Jemima on that panel. And then Bill will pick up a panel later with Matt and with Anders looking at events and hospitality, and then we'll pick up Q&A and chat throughout the conversation, but very much the Q&A at the end of the meeting. So to start the first conversation, if I could, let's go straight to yourself, Bernard, in the that capacity you have as director of ALVA, the Association of the Leading Visitor Attractions. From a national perspective, and then what you think it means for Liverpool. What have you taken out of that roadmap announcement on Monday? What do you feel that it kind of encapsulates a direction for the attraction sector?
Thanks very much, Chris, and thanks very much for the invitation to join you today. I'm wearing a couple of hats today. One is Chief Executive of ALVA, Association of Leading Visitor Attractions, and our members in Liverpool include Tate, but also National Museums Liverpool. But also I chair the equivalent in London of the London Tourism Recovery Board. So we're really looking at driving the recovery of London city centre, and there are real parallels between what we're thinking about here in London and what we're thinking about and you're experiencing in Liverpool. A couple of things. The first thing is I'm glad that the Prime Minister actually gave a statement on Monday night. We were running to the wire and we didn't know how full and comprehensive it would be, but there are lots of things within it that are really quite disappointing. The first is that we are incredibly disappointed that visitor attractions, indoor visitor attractions like museums and galleries and indeed the cathedrals, can't open at the same time as non-essential retail. This is clearly absurd. If you're trying to tell me that H&M and Primark are safer than Liverpool Cathedral or indeed Tate Liverpool, you've got another thing coming. So we thought that we had made some progress with government actually realising that you need to reopen indoor visitor attractions at the same time as non-essential retail for two reasons. One is there hasn't been a single case of COVID transmission at a visitor attraction, any kind, indoor or outdoor, in the UK in the last year, whereas there's been 122 in the House of Commons. Now, by anybody's reckoning, I think that the government need to re-look at this. So I had a meeting on Tuesday with the government ministers at the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, and said to them that ALVA is taking legal advice about the government's justification for not allowing indoor visitor attractions to reopen at the same time as non-essential retail. So at the moment, they won't be allowed to reopen until the 17th of May, and that's a long period of time. The other implication of that is that, of course, practically all of the visitor economy won't benefit from Easter or indeed the May bank holiday. Now, this is significant because the vast majority of visitor attractions in the UK make on average about 15 to 16% of their annual income over the Easter weekend. So we're losing a really big economic opportunity to repair the balance sheets. And it also means that over the course of the last year, the visitor economy has only been able to benefit from one bank holiday. So we've also put in a formal request to the government that they consider introducing a one-off special bank holiday for the UK at the end of September. And that would be some partial compensation for all of the bank holidays that we've lost over the course of the last 13 months or so. We want to ensure that visitor attractions and the wider visitor economy, events, pubs, bars, restaurants, hotels, accommodation, are able to use every opportunity to generate income, to get in revenues, and to repair their balance sheets. Next point is the confidence that people feel or don't feel about coming back, particularly into city centres. Now, last year, ALVA conducted public sentiment research during the spring and summer, and we were able to gauge almost on a fortnightly basis people's confidence about coming back to visitor attractions in particular, but also particularly city centres. One of the things that we found really quickly was that people were desperate to come back to visitor attractions like museums and galleries, places that they love, and they've only just realised how much they love when they didn't have them. And so there was real pent-up desire for people to come back to their favourite places. But their hesitation and their confidence was slightly knocked by what they would see when they got there. So one of our mantras was last year, and it will be again this year, is sanitize your site, not the visitor experience. Make it clean, make it hygienic, make it safe, but don't make it clinical, because people still want to enjoy themselves when they come out. They've been looking forward to coming to visit your bar, your restaurant, your hotel, your visitor attraction, whatever it is. So don't sanitize the visitor experience. People still want fun and enjoyment. But what we also found out is that members of the public had complete confidence in front of house staff at visitor attractions and bars and restaurants doing the right thing, wearing the right thing, managing face mask use, managing social distancing. They had far less confidence, however, in their fellow members of the public doing all of that. And I think that's going to be the same this time round too. And we already know from the visitor research that we've undertaken this year that people are really hesitant about coming back into city centres and really need a confidence boost in particular to use public transport. So driving people back into cities, reassuring them that A, it's a great experience, there are fun things going on, there's stuff that you've missed that you really have missed and you want to experience again, but also public transport is safe. I mean, all of the evidence shows of the lack of coronavirus on surfaces in buses and metro systems and trams and all the rest of it. Actually, it's really safe. However, when we do reopen finally, and all the bits of the visitor economy are open after about the 21st of June, we still need a lot of support in the visitor economy to survive and thrive and recover properly. And that's because, as you know, Chris, tourism was hit first, hit hardest, and will take the longest to recover. And so we still need things like the reduced level of VAT on accommodation and attractions, which we were able to secure from the Treasury and extended through to the end of this financial year. We still need that for the next financial year too. And I and the Chief Executive UK Hospitality, Kate Nichols, had a meeting with the head of the VAT team at the Treasury just last week to really push the case that we need that VAT continued to be reduced and extended through to the next year. We also need a business rates holiday because bluntly, businesses haven't been open long enough in the inconsistent tier levels over the course of the last year to generate enough wealth to pay the current business rates, which are still tagged at 2015 record property price levels. And we still need furlough, particularly in the cultural sector, where it still won't be economically viable for some cultural spaces to reopen at very, very reduced capacity controlled levels. It just won't be economically viable to do that. So a final thing for me is we need to provide an explicit invitation to people to come back to city centres. We need reasons for them to do so, like food festivals and performances, stuff that Liverpool is fantastic at, all the work that you've been doing with Artichoke, ever since the year of culture, City of Culture, all of that kind of stuff about giving people real reasons to come back and a fear of missing out, so that they really have a great sense of, if I don't come to this, I've missed out on 13 months of real activities, I've had 13 months of Netflix, but now I want to see real things, immerse myself in things. And the final thing is that I think that there will be ultimately an explosion in the experience economy. People under lockdown over the last 13 months have really appreciated memory making and experiences. And it won't surprise you to know that the #1 TV terrestrial program, which had the highest increase in audience, was BBC One's Repair Shop. Now, this is the kind of, if you don't know it, it's the kind of antidote to Antiques Roadshow. No one talks about value or cost or the price. Everyone talks about memories and storytelling and heritage and tangible pieces of linking with who you are and where you come from. So I suspect that this summer and next year, we'll see an explosion in the experience economy, people wanting to come together with their friends, their family, in places that are special to them, making memories, sharing experiences, and that will be the biggest driver to domestic recovery of cities like Liverpool and indeed right the way across the UK. Chris, back to you.
Great, thanks, Bernard. I'll come back to you on one or two of those points if you don't mind in a second or two, but very succinct positioning there from how you've looked at the announcements and the implications of those announcements. So let me just come to Jemima. I mean, Jemima, the Tate, critically important attraction within the city. You know, heartbeat of our cultural offer in many ways. What's your local take on the conversation that Bernard's just generated there in terms of the implications to Tate and your thoughts about it at local level?
Well, we too were very disappointed that we couldn't open alongside retail. So we really support that quest. We think that we are safe, and our previous openings have showed that. You know, opening in May, we'll miss Easter. That will be pretty devastating, not only for us and the museums, but also the Albert Dock, because, you know, NML and Tate are obviously based down at the Albert Dock, and we've got lots of other businesses down there that we're concerned about as well. You know, it's been such a crazy year, hasn't it? I mean, I don't think this was on anyone's bucket list, live through a global pandemic, but we've done it. And what we realize is now that we have to be ready to go at any time to adjust what we're doing and be ready to respond to what we've got. I guess, you know, it's the announcement. It's good to have the timetable. It's good to understand what that map looks like, and it's good that we can start working towards it. I think everyone in a, you know, cultural organisation is absolutely gagging to open those doors and get people in. We've done it previously. We know we can do it safely. Just let us get on with it.
Okay, and then I think, you know, in terms of the, you know, your ability to, you know, because I think one of the challenges this whole pandemic has given attractions like yours and businesses in general is the inability to plan. Now, you generally at Tate, you've got you're planning your next exhibition, you're planning your next piece of work. How is that shaking your planning cycle? And when do you think that you're able to get back into that sort of place?
Well, I guess because we're a year on now, when lockdown first happened, obviously all the plans went up in the air and we were replanning all the time. It now feels that we've got a calmer sense of what we need to do, and we are generally going to be extending presentations because we can't get as many people through the building as we could previously. So something like Don McCullen, which we opened last September and we would expect it to close in the spring this year, we're actually going to extend that through to September. So some of the things we're doing is elongating what we've got on to actually mean that the things we've talked about and people couldn't see, they can come and see. Our planning cycle in some ways has got shorter and in some ways it's got longer. So we're now looking to think about actually 23, 24, because that seems to us the year when, if you like, we're currently in reduce. We're then going to be in a sort of reset period where we need to kind of reset the business. And then by 23, 24, we're thinking we're kind of going to be renewing and getting out there again. So we've kind of got that. I think we're thinking short term, when we reopen, we're going to have the biennial in, you know, Liverpool biennial, which should have been last year, will be in the building. So we've got something new, but we're going to extend to other displays so that there's a bit more chance for people to come and get them. I guess the thing that's really difficult to plan for is what the volume of visitors looks like. In January 2020, we started as an organisation. We picked up, there was this thing in China, and we'd started modelling, what if we lose, 10% of our internationals? And of course, all that modelling meant absolutely nothing, because our visitor figure was absolutely decimated across the whole organisation. And what we've seen since reopening in July is that so many things affect visitors. We were very affected when schools went back. Suddenly, visitors dropped because we were so dependent on local visitors who were back at work. So I think from in some ways we've had to we've just said, actually there's not a lot of point in trying to predict what the figures will look like in May this year, because we don't know. But actually, let's be ready for the visitors that come, and to make sure the experience they get is so great that they want to come back, again and again and again, and it builds from there.
Okay.
So it's almost changed our focus in some way.
Yeah, no, and it's an interesting there, just to what the implications on your planning has been in that regard, between that short term and medium to long. Bernard, if I just pick up a couple of points from what you were saying earlier. One around this sort of, we've been reminded this is about data, not dates, but we've got dates, and obviously, first concern is, schools go back, infections go up, dates change. Just a view around data and dates. And then just picking up a question that's come through the Q&A. Obviously, attractions had to run on a kind of ticketing basis. They had to put in mechanisms in there to do that. Clearly, for attractions, the very value of attractions, particularly some of our free attractions, which we have many in the city, is that you can just rock up and you can basically go and do it at your leisure. So where do you see that? Where do you see that tipping point coming within the relaxation of the restrictions, and how that might affect attractions?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I saw the question from Stacey from NML in the chat. The really honest answer is that we don't know yet, because everything is still quite fluid and flexible. And it was really interesting that the PM used the phrase at the earliest for the 3 stages that he was talking about. So these are not definite opening dates. These are the earliest possible opening dates. And they're subject to variation and flux and change. We're hoping that the 17th of May date for indoor visitor attractions will be brought forward, but equally some of those dates may be shifted back because of things like new COVID strains, new variants, lack of speed in terms of the national vaccine program, etc., etc. My best guess is that even after the 21st of June, museums and galleries and indoor attractions will still have to do some degree of capacity reduction. And that may well include timed ticketing slots, the kind of thing that we've been used to over the course of the summer. And now that's not ideal, of course, because you're reducing the level of people that can come in. The flip of that, though, is that we absolutely know that when people did go into museums and galleries and indoor spaces last year, the visitor experience was phenomenal, because there were no crowds, there were no queues. You got up front and personal with art and artifacts and things that actually you might not see and not struggle with. So the visitor experience was phenomenal. So if there's a silver lining here, it's using it's necessity as a virtue. It's using the opportunity to say, well, you do have to do the ticket thing, you do have to do the reduced capacity thing for a short while, but the result of that is to experience the Walker Art Gallery, Tate Liverpool, Museum of Liverpool, whatever, in a way that you've never done before, and possibly will never again after this year. It's almost like having a VIP, behind the scenes, money can't buy experience. And so really milking that for all of its worth, I think, will probably be a useful thing to do.
Yeah, and I think just one final question for you, Bernard, just around, obviously, I think we all look at the how we're going to attract audiences back. I think we probably look at that hyper-local messaging in the first instance, building up through regional and then very much domestic. But clearly, and you'll be, I'm sure, conscious of that from a London hat, and attracting that European and international market is really, really important going forward in terms of getting that back into the country again. And of course, there we start to get into the debates about vaccine passports and how the UK aligns with our European and international counterparts to encourage people to know that we can move. What's your take on that at the moment in terms of, I know government have now said they're going to have a look at it from having a position where they're going to have a look at it at all. Certainly in our conversations with European cities, they're very much about the fact that the passport will be a critical part of access into their countries. Where do you see the UK on that at the moment?
Well, there's an almighty battle raging within Whitehall between those who are in favour of vaccine passports and those who are against them. And those who are against them are largely against them because they're ideologically opposed to ID cards. So there's a kind of battle roar going on in Whitehall. I actually just got my first my first vaccine on Friday. And whilst you don't get a vaccine passport, you do get a little NHS card, which tells you that you've been vaccinated and when your second jab is due. Yeah. So whether the government are opposed to a vaccine passport or not, they kind of exist anyway. And then the second thing is that you're absolutely right, Chris. I mean, Liverpool, like London, is really attractive to people who live in other cities. And our primary market beyond the UK domestic market and Liverpudlians and people from Merseyside will be the heroes of Liverpool's tourism recovery. Inviting people back, come and reclaim your city, enjoy your city in a way that you've never done before. They're going to be the saviors initially. But the other pent-up group of demand is from people who live in Europe, near European cities, who know what it's like to live in a city and are really comfortable about going to another one. So that city break audience, I think, will be really important too, as will ultimately North America. They'll take a little bit longer to get here, but they'll be coming towards the end of the year. And then we look at really important markets like China, who I suspect won't come back until the beginning of next year. But hyperlocal, hyper Merseyside, UK domestic, near Europe, city breaks, that's the rough chronology of the way that I think the marketing recovery is going to happen.
Good, and we would hope we'll have an opportunity to work with you in London around the opportunities about getting people to come to the capital, to come to the other great regional cities like Liverpool. I think that's another thing we'd like to pick up post-COVID as well. So, Jemima, just a last kind of comment from yourself before I hand over to Bill for the second panel. In terms of next week's budget, Bernard talked there about the importance of the tax relief, the business rates. From your perspective, any asks if you were speaking to the Chancellor now about what you need?
Well, I think for an organisation like Tate that has previously earned so much of its own money, which we can't do at the moment, we're asking for an uplift in funding so that we can continue to do as much as possible in this next period until we can get back to earning more. That's what we want to get back to. We want to get back to being able to earn it, but at the moment, it's that uncertainty about finance which makes planning, difficult.
Okay, great. Okay, listen, Bernard, Jemima, thanks very much for your contributions there. Great contributions, a lot of food for thought there. So, Bill, I will now hand over to you. Now, I know that you are in a very good position at the moment. You're celebrating a derby victory. You're celebrating your planning application going through. Better time to be a blue. I don't know when, but great to hand over, to Bill to run your side of the panel.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for that. And as they say, all these things do come to he who waits, but I've been waiting a long time for that thing on Derby victory on Saturday night. But enough of football. What I'm delighted about is that we've got two people now coming to talk about what we're going to be doing in this city now that we can start planning towards reopening, and particularly picking up Bernard's points there, that those 3 dates are not dates set in stone. Those dates are only dates that will be achievable if we can actually achieve those 4 measures that are also in the guidance document that the government produced, that if we can keep a control on the virus, and that we need to do that. This city has shown how it can do that, and we will continue to do that. And so we look forward to the summer, and the summer which will be bringing us back a return into sort of those better days that we all know and love in Liverpool. So I'm delighted that Anders from the International Tennis Tournament is here with us this morning, and also Matt talking about an exciting new product that you're going to be bringing into Liverpool. So if I can come to Anders first of all. Anders, Liverpool International Tennis Tournament. It's a great sporting event, but it's an annual event that we were almost at the 20th anniversary of it, weren't we? And we missed last year. We missed you very much, like we missed a lot of our friends in the city that we come to love. But not only is the International Tennis Tournament a great sporting event, we see some exciting tennis there. We know it's very important on the social scene, the corporate scene for Liverpool, because it's a time when Liverpool can come and celebrate great sport in a great environment in the middle of summer. And what's not to like about that? So how, Anders, are you? How are you coping with it? What we're going to look forward to this year?
Well, we are delighted that we can announce that the event will take place 23rd to the 26th of June, just past Boris's announcement. I think he said that hospitality will open on the 21st of June. So that is great timing for us. We're obviously a warm-up event to Wimbledon. We wanted the ATP and the WTA players to get as much practice as possible on grass before they go down to the big one in Wimbledon. And we've had some amazing names over the years coming to Liverpool, such as John McEnroe, Marat Safin, Caroline Wozniacki, and numerous world number ones coming to prepare for Wimbledon in Liverpool. This year, in terms of announcing players, we need to wait a little bit because the quarantine period for any foreigners coming into the UK obviously is 2 weeks, but hopefully come June, this will be eased by a lot, we hope.
Thanks, Anders. So your planning is around, and it's great to hear that you've got the confidence to come back to Liverpool in June. So June the 23rd, we look forward to planning around that. The venue will be Egbert Cricket Club, and that revised venue, which is great because you're very, very close to the action, aren't you?
Yes, as you can see in the background, this is the pavilion of the Liverpool Cricket Club. It's one of the oldest sporting grounds in the UK. Sport have been played there since, I believe, 1852, which is just unbelievable. It's like a hidden gem, and as for people who haven't been behind those high walls on Egbert Road, I would encourage anyone to go in there. They play all sorts of sports in addition to cricket, such as obviously tennis and rugby and bowling and a lot of stuff.
Great. And Anders, I know you can't tell us who you're going to have as tennis, who's going to be the players this year, but can you give any sort of indications, any tempting snippets of information? What's happening on the circuit? Because we know tennis players have not been able to play to the extent they want. We've seen tennis players, particularly in Australia, where they were doing all of their pre-tournament training locked in a hotel room. So
yeah, that was an unbelievable achievement by the organizer. All the players were stuck in a hotel room for 2 weeks, and then they had another week to practice. It was won by Novak Djokovic, so he's now up to 18 Grand Slams. For those with good memories, he was in Liverpool back in 2004, practicing or preparing for Wimbledon as a 16-year-old. And now it's looking good to become the GOAT of tennis, greatest of all times. He's 2 slams behind Federer and Nadal, and he's younger than them. So I think he will be challenging for that title. In terms of releasing names, it's very difficult because the foreigners, I don't know how and when they can come in, which actually includes myself. To the country. I've been stuck in Norway for the last 12 months. But hopefully those quarantine rules will be eased. If not, there are a lot of very good British players that we will certainly invite.
And in terms of the tournament, am I right in saying that Liverpool is one of the only cities that hosts, outside of London, that hosts an international tennis tournament?
As an exhibition event, yes, and we've grown to become the biggest tennis exhibition in Europe, which we are very proud of. Established back in 2002, so we are going to celebrate our 20th anniversary or the 20th event but we missed obviously out on last year, so it's actually only 19, but let's call it 20 anyways.
Great, good. And I'll come back to you in a moment, Anders. But if I can come to you, Matt, an exciting news, because in the middle of a pandemic, when hospitality has been closed, we know that hospitality is suffering. You've got sufficient confidence in the hospitality market, and more importantly, sufficient confidence in Liverpool's market to be announcing a new product coming into the city. Tell us all about GPO.
Absolutely, Bill. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me to be on the panel. GPO is in the Metquarter, which has seen an absolutely amazing resurgence in the last 18 months and how it's been repositioned. And GPO obviously stands for the heritage within the Metquarter, which is the old General Post Office. And we're bringing our food hall model to Liverpool. So GPO will actually mean General Produce Offer. And within that, we'll have 350 covers with 10 kitchens, bar, coffee shop, as well as supporting community events, workshops, experiential-led activities. And we chose Liverpool as we couldn't believe the love that Liverpool had for the hospitality industry, the way you supported it throughout the pandemic. You were the first ones to shut down streets, allow us to put our tables and chairs out, and the position of the Metquarter, is just unbelievable. And
obviously a great offer in terms of the food court, but there's something different about yourselves in the work that you want to do with young chefs and young entrepreneurs to encourage them. I know that we had we did actually have a face-to-face meeting, socially distanced, and an essential business meeting a few weeks ago, and some of the exciting ideas. Do you want to tell our panel and tell our audience about that?
Of course. So as part of the food hall, we need to incubate the next talent. Hospitality, as we know, is a hard industry, and we need to keep this talent coming through. And as a food hall, we have the ability to incubate. So in our other food hall, we've incubated people for a year, 18 months, and then they've gone on and taken bricks and mortars within the city. And it's that evolution of keeping local talent within your own city and moving them through the scheme. But everybody needs that opportunity to start. And so we're about to launch this week the Future Food Stars, whereby we're looking for 3 Liverpool talented operators, whether you're brand new, starting from scratch, a youngster, as long as you've got that passion, that talent, or you're just looking for your next step from the street food scene, we're here to incubate you. And along that journey, we will help with all your marketing, your accounting, your purchasing. We really do have a passion for bringing through talent, as we need to get diversity through in the food. And part of that is our shout out, and we'll send out, if that's okay, on your email tomorrow, our call for future talent.
Excellent. And you're currently operating out of the Cutlery Works in Sheffield. How has Sheffield, obviously, have they welcomed the Cutlery Works? You've been there for some time now. So what will the night out for us in Liverpool be like? It will be very similar to what's happening in Sheffield?
Completely. The food hall concept we loved, because we used to go to Asia on holiday a lot, and it was that whole culture of families coming together, and you could eat and mix and choose the food you wanted. So you weren't constrained to a certain type of food. There was choice, and the people in those food halls were experts and were passionate about that cuisine that they did, with especially the regional cuisines, such as your Gujarati and your more offbeat. But what we like is that you can come with your family, you can come as a grandparent with your grandchildren, and you can experience the same amazing service as whether you're coming on a date night or you're coming dressed up to the nines ready to move on to the evening afterwards. And it's that whole cultural melting pot, which is what sets food halls apart. We are experiential led, so it's about, you can come for an activity, you can come to create, you can do a dog life drawing class, you can come to make jewelry, or you can come just as part of a dining experience. The big factor we have in it is that we are led via our own app. So we have our own app to do at table ordering. And so it actually stops that whole experience of being up and down, going to different vendors, different bars, so you can sit down and you can spend time with the ones you love.
And the use of the app obviously is something you can I know that from what the discussions we had was about the local use of that reward system that you've got. So
yeah, it came about as a single operator in a single business. You know your regulars. I know who's coming through that door, and I know what they like, when they like to come, where they like to sit. But as you grow, you can't have that interaction one-on-one with every single person who comes through your door. So via the app, we reward people, and we reward you 10% loyalty. So on every purchase you make, you get 10 IB coins back, which convert to instant loyalty. So we're not asking you to come 10 times to get a free cup of coffee. We'll reward you instantly. So the idea is that people stay and they go, oh, I've just got £2 back, I'll buy more. And it keeps up their experience and their time that they dwell within the building. But as part of that, we also enable you to donate food to the local food bank, which is part of our DNA, is that we always give back to the areas within our local community. And so every time you purchase a meal, you can round up 76p and you can donate meals.
Great. Now the questions come in really. How will GPO differentiate itself from Baltic Triangle and Duke Street Food Market? Obviously, I mean, I say we're not in competition in this city. We're actually delighted that we've got additionals coming in. It's how it complements and where does it sit. I know one of the things about the location of GPO, you're right adjacent to the commercial district and all the business. So I can imagine a lot of lunchtime traffic in there as well.
I think lunchtime would be amazing. I think breakfast would be amazing too, with the 700 students arriving from the LMA each day. And as you said, the financial district is unbelievable for lunchtime. I think with food halls, we're all different. We all do different things exceptionally well. But a recent report came out to say that they do believe food halls are the future of the community, and that these local hubs can exist alongside each other. And you plug into it as you're within that facility. So there's already 26 food halls in London with another 20 in the pipeline. I see these being regional, so you'll have them in the suburbs. Cutler Works is a suburb-based food hall. It's very much community-led, where we're driving people to come to us for that experience, the co-working space. And then the Liverpool one is more of a flagship within a city centre location, and we'll tap into those different time zones. Excellent.
And so in terms of the roadmap that we've discussed and the dates, April the 12th won't be available for you because you don't have outdoor hospitality. But May the 17th, I take it, is a date that you'd be looking towards opening of GPO.
Well, we're due to be handed over on the 10th of May. So that's the handover date. And then they're trying to say they want 3 weeks snagging. So we've penciled in the 24th for trialing friends, family, business community on the 17th that week and opening the 24th.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. We look forward to hearing more about that and obviously working with you on it. But Anders, obviously you're preparing now for the tennis tournament. Big investment from you, committed to those dates. What do we in the city need to do to support you?
Well, we are obviously always looking for partners and sponsors to come and take advantage of branding and promotional opportunities during the event. We've had some very loyal sponsors over the years, such as MSB Solicitors, KPMG, Uber, and also this year the Medicash Foundation will sponsor our kids program. So they're basically we're organizing a kids camp during half term for Medicash, where 100 kids are invited to have free tennis lessons throughout the week. During the event, we also have a kids day only, which is supported by KPMG. And a couple of years back, we managed to have the largest tennis lesson ever, which still stands. 806 kids were introduced to tennis, and we're in the Guinness Book of Record at the back of that. So it's so much more. Being part of what we do is so much more than just having a board up on the event or receiving hospitality. It's corporate social responsibility program that is very famous, I believe, in the Northwest.
That's great. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, we have the details, but also your website will be live soon, I assume, as you're launching and announcing it today.
Yes, it's up and running, liverpooltennis.co.uk.
Excellent. Thanks, Anders. Thanks, Matt. In the last few moments that we have today, actually, we've got another 15 minutes. I wanted to come to you, Chris, and if we can talk through the Visitor Economy ALVA network recovery plan that we published this week. Liverpool Visitor Economy has been working tirelessly throughout the pandemic. Obviously, we used to meet on a quarterly basis. Initially, we met on a weekly basis and have continued to do that now via Zoom, when the organizations that represent the sector have come together to see how we can provide support, but also now how we can recover out of that. And so, Chris, you were the main architect through Marketing Liverpool of the recovery plan. Obviously, the whole board worked on it. What are the key elements within that? There's some of the questions that have come in that we can actually bring into the discussion.
Well, I think first and foremost, Bill, the plan needs to be seen as a living, breathing document. That is, it's not a strategy. It's very much a plan for 21. It needs to be regularly updated to reflect the key issues of the moment and the priorities that come out of that. But I think there are a number of things that underpin it. The first and foremost is that, you know, thinking that everything will just go back to normal and that we would just dial back to January of last year and cities will just be exactly as they were and demand will return, we think is a dangerous thing to say. We need to think about what cities look like going forward, how they're going to attract audiences, what the dynamics of the product base will look like, and what are the changing circumstances in which we need to reflect within that. So I think clearly there are some key planks to that plan. Content is clearly very, very important. So as a point I was mentioning with Jemima earlier around content planning, because joining that content up, amplifying that content, and also about basically looking at where we undertake content. So the Liverpool Without Walls program going forward will build on what happened in the summer, but we'll start to look at how we animate public space, how we bring cultural vibrancy to that space, and how we basically make the experience of the city centre and the product of the city centre more enlivening, more encapturing, but doing so against a backdrop of safety, which underpins everything. I think we have a very clear perspective about how we start to rebuild our audiences and where are the audiences going to come from. You know, we see basically very much starting with that local audience, but moving in towards a regional domestic, certainly for 21, and hopefully beginning to see the signs of near European and international markets coming back into that period. Business and events, a sector that has been absolutely hammered during this period, together with the nighttime economy. Business and events will take longer because the planning cycle is longer. So it's probably Q3, Q4 before we start to see the sort of return of some of the business events, other than those that we hope that are contracted and will stay on the books. So we've got to start thinking about what those things need to re-energize them. And clearly business support will be an ongoing factor. And you know, we've made some statements in that document that it's not just about short-term business support. It's about medium to long-term recognition that a lot of these businesses that we have need recapitalized in many ways. You know, they have exhausted a lot of their savings. They've exhausted a lot of their reserves. Some of them have, debt to deal with in terms of back rent. And therefore, although the 5% VAT, the business rates will help, we generally hope that the Chancellor will go a bit further and a bit deeper next week to really look at how we recapitalise the sector to go forward. So there's a number of underpinning things there that I think, position how we're going to go forward. But the important thing is that it's owned by everyone. So everyone will have a view, and I saw some comments there in the QA about the opportunities around community-led tourism. You know, we've discovered very clearly the importance of that local market, making sure that our local market is very much connected to the offer of the city and experience the offer of the city. So any ideas in that space are more than welcome. I think ALVA can be the board that directs the direction of travel, but the priorities need to come from the businesses themselves in terms of what are the things we need to do as a city to fundamentally get our sector back on the go again. What I would say is that Liverpool was fast out the blocks last time. It will be fast out the blocks again this time. And I think, you know, we will see that with the likes of the biennial River of Light coming on shortly. So I think I'm kind of very, I think the plan will be good if we use it effectively, pragmatically, and we drive it with energy. Then it will produce results. No value to have it sitting on a shelf.
No, thanks for that, Chris. I mean, that clearly is the point that one of the criticisms that has been in Liverpool is that we've produced too many plans that have sat on shelves. And as the commitment of ALVA board is that this is a plan that will be a living, breathing plan that will shape and change, but will be the key focus for the recovery of the visitor economy in 21 initially, but then as we build through, as Jemima talked about, building through 22, 23 into 24 as we get back to where we were in 2019. And that's the key to this plan. There's a couple of specific questions. I noticed that Neil had asked a question about what can the business community do? Well, the guidelines at the moment and the roadmap talk about once we get to step 4, the government will review the message about working from home wherever possible. We know that many of our businesses undertook COVID secure procedures to encourage people to come back into the office. And there's a big piece of work that needs to be done about getting people back safely into offices, because as well as obviously the importance of getting people into offices for what it does for the visitor economy, what it does for the coffee bars in Old Hall Street and the coffee bars in Bold Street, it's also about what it does for people's mental health, being able to come back into offices safely. So that's part of the work that will be done, but be assured that the business community will play its full part in bringing our city back. Neil's asked a question about, and I'll address this to you, Matt, about relationship with Liverpool College. The City of Liverpool College obviously has a great catering facility and has produced some many stunning chefs and the support and workforce for our visitor economy. So one of the things you talked about just then was how you can bring forward young food entrepreneurs. So you are in discussions with the City of Liverpool College?
Yeah, indeed. We've reached out via the Metquarter, and I think we have a meeting lined up for Monday, I believe. But we do a scheme already whereby in our other food hall, we bring in the local hospitality college and they have a day experiencing the diversity of our sector. It's a hands-on day where they might do coffee roasting, some making a dal, making Japanese skewers, and it's just to show them that it's not just, you don't just have to go into it and be a chef in a restaurant. We can show you how to skill up your life and have your own business, and how you can gain experience by doing different types of hospitality.
Great, thanks, Matt. I'm just smiling. There's a question for me specifically about where Everton will finish above Liverpool. Well, as an Evertonian over many, many, many years, Everton have always finished above Liverpool in my expectations, regardless of what it said on the table. I think it's great that in the city, both clubs will do well. So hopefully Liverpool will get will restore some of their previous season's form and get back to where they should be, which is below Everton. And I just noticed on that photograph that Anders has just put up there, a photograph of me looking pre-lockdown. I have lost some weight during lockdown. Thanks for that. Thanks for that one. Chris, just coming back to some of the key plans that we're thinking about within the visitor economy. One of those was Liverpool Without Walls. We're working on getting that ready to launch as soon as we can. And then also a program of events. Clearly we can't plan those major events, but we are looking at very localized delivery of events. And looking, I know we already mentioned, Jemima, that Biennial is back this in March. In fact, next month, Biennial is opening up again. So as we're coming towards the conclusion of this webinar, any final thoughts, Chris?
No, I mean, I think you know, I've had the biennial exhibition. I think will be superb as it ever is. I think we've got a lot of. I mean, you know, we've covered today. You know, we've got some great new product coming in with what Matt's talking about there. Brilliant. That businesses like Matt are choosing cities like Liverpool, and that's really got to, that's that air of positivity. We've got to reflect on the things that are the positive things that are happening. That we've all had a lot of doom and gloom. You know, we've got to be confident that Anders, you know, that tennis balls will be flying across the net in June, because it's all about that. For Liverpool, I think we are, you know, we've got a brilliant offer. We've got a great set of product. We've got more than capability of coming out of this fast. We will all need to work together in it. We will all have to amplify our messaging together. We all have responsibilities in that space. We all have a responsibility to get our people who make our industry so special, you know, back up and running again. You know, there's been a lot of challenges there for young people who work in our sector, who have had their income slashed over the last 12 months, rebuilding for that purpose. And we've got to work at national level to get the national bodies to understand the importance of cities to the fabric of the visitor economy, to work with us to get the messaging out through their national campaigns. And we've got to hope, you know, that beyond COVID, that the penny has dropped for government about the importance of hospitality, the ecosystem in which we exist within, and that governments other than DCMS, and I particularly look at Treasury as one, you know, finally get the message about the importance of this sector and put in the proper resources, the proper support to allow the sector to not only rebuild, but basically contribute more and more to the offer of UK PLC.
Great, thanks, Chris. And Jemima, your hopes for this summer and this year?
Well, I guess it sounds a bit Pollyanna-ish, but I think what we're trying to take from it is that this huge period of disruption has meant that it has absolutely fast-forwarded some testing out of things. We're looking at our building differently. We're looking at our staff differently. You know, we're no longer needing to take cash because people are just all prepared to pay with cards. And I think we're just really trying to build on this kind of this disruption as a kind of huge experiment, that things that we might have talked about for months before, we've tried and we now know can work. So hopefully we really can build that better.
Great, good. Matt, final words from you. Roadmap, exciting new projects. What's this year going to be like?
I think we could bounce back massively, Bill. I believe all going to plan. Once we get open and people get that taste of socializing and interaction and experience-led activities, I think we're going to see a real boom in the economy. All going to plan, of course. But may I just say that if any businesses want to use our app for free, it's built by us. It's completely owned by ourselves. And if anybody wants to use it, it's free, and you can use it in your own hospitality and cultural businesses.
Excellent, thanks. We will certainly look at how we can work with you on that app, and perhaps see how we can roll it out for other businesses in the BID area in the city. So thanks for all of that, and we wish you well. And Anders, your hopes for this year?
Well, we just hope that this pandemic will go away and everything will return to normal. It's been a tough 12 months, and people are talking about mental health for younger people, but for older people as well. Not having been able to play sport, outdoor or indoor, for such a long period has been very, very tough. So we all need to get back into our normal lives and be able to do and practice whatever we want whenever we want. So fingers crossed for that, and some good weather in June. Excellent, thank you, and thank you all for being part of our webinar today. Our next webinar will be on the 25th. What's the date today? The weeks go. It's the 24th of March.
No, it's not. It's the 25th today. The 25th of March is when our next webinar will be. Who's going to be speaking on that? We don't know yet, but that's please do follow our website, follow our social media, and we look forward to sharing that with you. But in the meanwhile, obviously, once we get past March the 8th, please do share with one other person outside. Go and buy a coffee and sit on a park bench with your closest friends, those people outside your family that you haven't been locked up with for the last 12 months. Go and enjoy that. Spring is coming, and we look forward very much to be working with you all and seeing you all, more of you this summer. Thanks all for attending.